I am here speaking with my friend Zarin. I recently had the honor of helping her with her father's transition. And I'm going to let her share a little bit more about what that experience was like. Speaking for myself, it was the perfect example of the way I hope to serve my community, being there from while the person is still living, where I'm able to be a benefit. And then afterwards, through the funeral, checking in, making sure things are taken care of. And to be a part of everything that Zorin and I went through was really heartwarming for me. And she's agreed to share her experience. So I'm going to ask her a few questions. And then later on, we may just talk a little bit about that. But I'm going to go ahead and start by asking Zorin, could you please describe what it is that you feel like I do?
I guess it started with knowing that I was out of my depth. I was out, like, I did not know what steps to take. And when we're facing that moment where we need to start making decisions, my panic was quite profoundly debilitating. It feels, you feel frozen. You don't know what the exact in most things in life there's a clear path of what you need to do, and the only, I was spinning, always spinning, right? And so the only thing that I could do to anchor me was call you. And knowing that I had you to call, and of course we don't know who to call. We don't know. We're supposed to be adults. We're supposed to be grown-ups. We're supposed to we're supposed to know what to do. And especially if it's your parent, I mean, I can imagine that there would be worse people that you would have to know what to do. Like maybe, God forbid, you're losing a child, or maybe maybe more distant relative that you aren't very close with. But in this particular case, it was my father, and I am his only person. Even though I have other siblings, and I'm the youngest. So I just had questions to start with. I hadn't actually planned to become a complete burden on you, but you were very supportive.
And you weren't a burden, by the way. Or actually,
no, it doesn't matter. The point is that we don't, when we're trying to be grown-ups too, right? We're not exactly wanting to, or maybe we're just not good at asking for help. Maybe we don't know. Like, what I often run into this where I'm not sure what the appropriate level of help is in any given situation. And that's part of just my trauma as a child. Like I don't know what's okay to ask for and what's not. So my first questions were more logistical, like, okay, I my father's gonna pass. I need to figure out, like, how what are the steps from when someone dies to getting them to the cemetery, and who do I call first, and how do I do all these things, and um and then also more logistically too, where you feel kind of weird about harder questions like what's the appropriate amount that this should cost me. Like, how much does it, is appropriate for a coffin? And we're sort of told that mortuaries and cemeteries are making money off of death, right? And there's a lot of stigma actually about that.
There is.
And what services are needed, what services aren't needed, so I can't remember. Do you remember that first conversation over the phone that we had? It was actually years ago, because my dad didn't pass until almost 4 years later. So I was panicked, and you said, okay, we're gonna call them the mortuary. You're just going to figure out this thing first, and then the cemetery is a separate place. My father's parents were buried in a nearby town, 45 minutes away. And we need to go up there, find out if they have a plot, you know. And then you just sort of calmed me down and started me on my path, you know. And you said, you know, do you need me to make these phone calls for you? Do you need me to do this for you? And I said, no, I just needed to know what was most important to do right now. And I need to know which ones depend on other ones. And then I need to figure out right now my finances. Like in an emergency situation, I need to know what I can afford to do right today.
Yeah, very practical.
And it was because you don't want to do it wrong. You don't want to be, you don't want to have not have the money to do the thing that you want to do for them. And again, that feeling of like, well, what's the appropriate amount that something should cost? So,
and I will say, thinking about it 4 years in advance, even though we don't know how advanced we're thinking about it, you know, that gave you the opportunity to be more strategic, I guess, or to know that you had time if you needed to. So, because some people need to pay off over time, and so you did have that.
Well, what's funny is that that month, right? It was during COVID, and I didn't know that I would have time, right? I did have to come up with the money right away, and that was really scary. And the other thing that we can talk about, which is really cool, is that because it happened later, so fast forward, we made all those decisions, right? I bought the plot. I took the catalog to my dad. I had the really difficult conversation over which casket he wanted and how he wanted to be honored, as far as like we asked some questions about his eulogy, and he was, you know, at the time able to speak about all those things because we had exited the immediate emergency. And then it was neat to have that conversation with him where I got to know him a little deeper, even back then. And so we picked the casket, we picked the transport, the refrigeration. I mean, like all of these really weird things that you don't feel very comfortable about. But then if you fast forward in the timeline, that we didn't know that he would last another 4 years. When we did hit that emergency mode again, where it was like we'd made 3 trips to the hospital in 3 months. And with each trip, it was obvious that there was another system that was sort of feeling within him. And when my brothers and my sister called me, and I was speaking with my aunts and uncles, and they all asked how they could help and what needed to get done, I actually had that huge relief off my plate, where I said, oh no, I already made all these decisions with Karen. Like we already picked everything. Everything is ready to go. And the pride that I felt, I know that sounds silly, but like,
no, it's an adult thing to do. Like, yeah, like look at this,
I went from kid to grown up, right? And then I'm talking to my elders, essentially, and I was able to give them safety and security, and knowing that financially, you know, can we help? No, it's already been dealt with. Is there anything that we need to do? No, all these decisions have been taken care of. And that does give you a huge sense of pride. Like I being the youngest in my family, you know, like being the grown up in the room that had already made all the decisions. And also I had a lot of pride in you. I had a lot of pride in knowing that I had this immense security blanket holding me the entire time, and I felt secure. I felt safe. I felt like if something came up, I knew that there was an expert next to me who was going to be able to step in and make the right decision, even if I couldn't hear it, right? Like, even if I didn't know that it was the right decision because of my grief, I knew that you were giving me good advice the whole time. Like, we were in the biggest example was when we were saying goodbye, and I mean, he's basically not eating or drinking, and we're doing the time thing where you wait and for them to decide when it's time.
And you're talking about your dad, waiting for your dad
pass.
choose the moment.
Choose the moment and
there were a
pass.
lot of moments where we thought maybe this was the moment, and then it kept not being the moment.
Yeah. And then but what's hard is that all my out of town family wanted to know the moment.
Yeah.
And they wanted, and you kept this very like safe, like stable tone with the way that you spoke to me, and with the wisest words that resonated with so much truth, which was just, people are, I can't remember, there were so many of these moments that you did, but one of them might have been like, people are going to want to know the time, and this is where you encourage them to be patient, and that you don't know the time. And I mean, that you said so many more things than that, but that was the gist of it.
Yeah,
like
we spent some time like on the sentence that I was like, this is what you tell them, this is the sentence.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
There was, because I was so grief stricken that I didn't want to mess it up, and I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. This is a big deal. Like when someone's passing, everybody's having their own feelings. And you just said, and I go, and I literally was so sad that I couldn't reprocess what you were saying. So I just bluntly went, just tell me what to say to them. Just tell me the exact words to say to them.
Yeah.
And you did, and you gave me, and
I think it's even in our text messages somewhere.
It is. I think I wrote it down. I was like, okay, because I had to practice it, because I was so sad that I didn't want to accidentally say the wrong thing to someone and trigger them in some sort of way. So you're taking care of me helped me take care of them. And that's not something that you really anticipate needing, that amount of care. Like I felt like I was just a big baby, and you were like, it's okay, baby.
Yep.
We're gonna get through this. And I'm like, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to say. And you're like, this is what you're gonna say, and this is gonna be okay. The other moment that springs to my mind too was that I wanted to make sure that when I set the date for the funeral, that I spun off. I wanted everybody to be able to go. And so I was trying to accommodate all these people's needs. And you said, you're not going to be able to accommodate everyone's Ren. You just need to do your very best and set the date and the time. And the people who can make it will make it, and the people who can't. And you have to accept that you cannot serve everyone, because I'm a giant people pleaser. So, and I wanted the hospital staff to go. I wanted, like the
well, and you got a lot of people calling you and were like, I want to know, so I want to make my own plans and all of this.
Yeah, and
you've got a lot of people tugging on you, and then your own stuff tugging on you, like
pulling you in all kinds of directions and stuff. And so for you, and what's so funny was that in that moment, I wanted to resist you. I wanted to say, no, I'm gonna make it special. Like everybody that's gonna need to be there is gonna be there, and I'm gonna make sure that all these people get to go. And you kind of giggled a little bit at me, like, because I resisted in that really childlike way. And then after the funeral happened, and we were driving back home, I thought about that moment for some reason, and I was like, God, she's so right. Like that was such a silly thing for me to be worried about in that moment. But in panic and grief, it seems like it's the most important thing on the table. Yeah. And you're just like, no.
Well, this is a big event, and it's for him, and you want all the people to make it, and you want it to be accessible, and it's always like, yeah, absolutely try. I'm not saying don't try. I'm not saying like this is the day you like it or not. No, take people into account, but just like recognize that with so many people.
Well, mine was funny was because I was trying to make it accessible to the hospital, to just like people who were probably not going to go, right. But in that moment it felt like they wanted to go, and it just seemed, and that's not to say anything badly about anyone who has intentions of going to a funeral and they can't make it because of their work schedules or whatever, but like it's like most things in the universe, it is what it is, right? Like it's meant to be however it turns out. It's meant to be. And one of the things that you don't really imagine weighing on you, and this might have just been me, but it really felt like I was responsible for accumulating is not the word, but like wrapping up his entire life
Mm-hmm.
into some sort of present that
Mm-hmm.
I was giving to
Mm-hmm.
him and to everyone that knew him.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted so badly to do that well.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do him justice and honor, and the pressure of it, like writing the eulogy. And I should have started on it like weeks earlier, and I wrote it maybe 1 week. I wrote 2 pages, and then a few days later I wrote a page, and then the night before it was like 4 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't sleep, and that's when some really good stuff flowed in. And just having you sit there with me and be like, okay, so the first draft that I started on was
just a lot of feelings in it.
Where there was a lot of feelings.
Yeah,
there was a lot of feelings in it.
A lot of feelings come up.
And you were like, you're not going to make everyone happy, which I needed to hear, right? Like, yes, what you're saying is important to you. And if you need to say it. And just you're always being so frank and honest and forthright with me that I could trust what you were saying to me was true. Like, again, with I may not be making the best decisions right now, so
sleep on it.
Like, because you're very emotional right now, and so I reflect. I had a little time to reflect on that initial gut reaction, and then I took parts out that needed to come out, and then just like having that inspiration, and then having you rearrange it and be like, okay, this is really good, and this
one surprise thing I did was put all your pages back together in the car, like
on the way there.
That
was a little bit of my craziness for sure.
No, it was a fun task that I wasn't.
It was meant to be for sure. I would not. I don't know. Can you write your eulogy years in advance?
So I actually just posted about this. How newspapers write obituaries for famous people, especially older or sick, so that when they die, they don't have to make the obituary. It's already done. And then I said that, and I had 2 newspaper people corroborate that. I'm like, yeah, in our downtime, that's absolutely what we were doing. We were writing these obituaries, and then we'd go back and revise them as they kept living. We'd go back in and add stuff. And like that's a whole other topic.
Obituary was something that I wasn't anticipating needing you to do either. When we picked a template and a photo, and like, because now that we live in the digital age,
so that's the announcement. So versus
okay,
so obituary is kind of an announcement, but this was like it was a photo of him, and then the dates of his birth and passing, and then the service information. So it's like an announcement.
That's an announcement.
Yeah, I mean words or whatever.
Well, whatever the case is, there's a lot of things that you don't really think about until it's impossible to think about anything. Yeah, so that was really fun.
And I enjoyed making those. So although I think I was having a tough day that day, we got it done.
We did get it done. And then what was funny was that I had put a picture of him in like when he was a kid, and he'd like done this funny thing with his hair. And my one brother said, "Oh, I didn't know Dad was a greaser." And then my other brother goes, "Oh, AI is just getting out of control." And I was like, I don't know. The template we chose was sort of black and white, and so I just picked a black and white photo because it felt right at the moment. But yeah, maybe like being able to make that decision not post-mortem would have been more ideal. I think I want you to do my funeral. Like, I want to pick my photo. I want to make my announcements and my obituary and my eulogy myself.
One lady actually, one year I made pre-arrangements for someone, and she actually made me make her folders ahead of time. And so I said, like, I can't put your date of death, obviously, like there's just whatever. And she like had it all planned out, and I printed them, and she like took them off with her. And I would imagine she did pass, and I would imagine her family used them. But she wanted them
Yeah,
ready to go.
yeah, I think I would like that. I would like that.
It's a service I can provide.
I want, yes, please.
Yeah.
I'm gonna assign everyone colors. I want everyone to wear the rainbow. I don't want everyone dressed in black.
Yeah.
Though,
those are great.
though I have to say that black does feel quite appropriate when you're going to a funeral, which is also a weird thing that you don't really think about until it's personal. Like,
yeah, I think it's really cultural. Like if you go to New York, you know, not to be, you know, pigeonhole everybody, but there's a lot of black in New York. Like it's a very somber vibe. Well, whereas we're in California, and so there's a lot of emphasis on doing like celebrations of life versus funerals, and people are like
regional feelings
so,
of like
But then in some cultures, like you have to wear black, and then so it's just.
Well, it's really. I'm gonna have everyone wear a rainbow because I'm from California. Yeah. But also just even the month after this whole month, it's been almost a month now, and just feeling like I'm okay with people knowing that I'm in mourning. Like I'm gonna wear black today. I wore green. Like this is actually,
which is funny. Today, like we did not plan this.
This is a big deal that I put on green today. I've been wearing black every day.
Wow.
And it feels good to be like, I'm in mourning. I do feel sad. Like I'll just.
Well, they used to have the mourning clothes, you know, that was like a thing where you wore black for a year or whatever.
You did your mourning period. And I have been thinking about that all month for some reason. I don't know why.
You know, and when people are aware of one another and care about being aware of one another, it could be a great symbol of like, show some extra kindness and compassion to the people around you.
Yeah.
So when everyone's playing along.
In our culture, that'd be a t-shirt. I'm in mourning.
Yeah. So I really want to make a weighted hoodie. And I actually have I already have the designs for it with like the hood, you know, like big hood.
That would be incredible.
With just
because you do feel like a weight, you know, and weighted blankets do feel amazing. Yeah. So I'm in. I'll buy that too. I'll buy one for each one of my children so they can wear it after I die. Pre-ordered. Sorry, I didn't mean to make that sound cheesy, but like
no, I appreciate it.
Yeah, so I think there's the logistical stuff that happened in the beginning of and worrying about money and plots and, you know, refrigeration and transport. And then there's the business aspect of when can you expect the death certificate, all of his papers and like that you need, which
you did a great job, or he did a great job. He did a great job.
He had a briefcase.
I know, I love that briefcase.
Official documents.
Yeah, so good.
Samsonite thing that would have.
No, it was a HP computer box.
But it was made by Samsonite. It was. Okay. It was. And anyway, it could just survive a nuclear bomb. It had his military documents. It had his birth certificate, and like, and so when we went to do that after he passed, when we
went out at the funeral home, you were like,
it was so nice to have all that ready to go. And you don't, again, like, I mean, I was so sad, and like, you just don't realize how much grief is going to make simple things hard, really hard, really, really hard. And then like, I could just look at you and be like, am I doing a good job? Did I do it right? And you just be like, yes, you're doing great. You're doing great.
Well, you did do.
Well, because of you.
Maybe, but I mean, but.
And then there's the magic that I did get to. I did have a little sneak preview into your ability to perform a funeral, because our sensei had passed, our sensei's mother, our grand sensei. And when Professor Carr passed, there's a lot of backstory and emotions there too. But to simplify it, when I heard your eulogy and your expression of her entire life, right? And how you sort of wrapped it up in this present that I was talking about earlier.
I resonate with this.
I saw her in such a different light than I had known her in life. And so I had two mixed feelings there. One, I didn't know the woman that I thought that I knew once you had shed this light on her. And that brought up all kinds of feelings. And then two, just admiration for you, watching you do your thing and listening to your eloquence and the way that you did that was so awesome that it also set a little bit of a precedence that when you were working with me, with my dad, I was like, okay, so this is this magical thing that I need you to do about my dad's life.
Yeah.
And what was funny was that I had a feeling that you'd be able to do it, but I gave you a very tall order because my father has a bit of a complicated story in the sense that, yes, he was a very typical, man who fell in love, came from a very loving family, got married, had 4 children. Before that, he'd been drafted into Vietnam. And he was very, very, very spiritual. He was a Baha'i. And then he'd fallen ill and hadn't had any huge achievements in his life past that, except just a long medical file of illness. And it caused our family, the divorce and the rupture in our family was very difficult. And I tasked myself and you with this healing of my family, like that. And it wasn't anything specifically that we did or didn't do. It was more, I feel like, and I could lean on you with just even the expectation or an intention of deep, soulful, just desire, right? Like prayer, like a wing and a prayer, like please God, guide our actions, our feelings, our hopes for this funeral to heal all his loved ones, which is a tall order. And I think that you and I both also are very spiritual, so we were able to sort of surrender what that looked like, or if it would even happen for whomever. Like, it was more just that the heart was there. And I think that that's really important, is that we talk about how big your heart is and how you are able to see past the veil into sort of, I don't know how you do it. Like you're able to see the spirit of someone and talk about their life in a way that just brings magic to the situation. For instance, the story over the prayer at the graveside.
Oh yeah. That was the Baha'i prayer. Yeah.
That was like the coolest thing, that just on the cuff.
I did add that. Yeah.
My uncle recited
so your dad is Baha'i,
and
the Baha'i have a very specific prayer they have to say before they're buried.
Yes, like we're all standing there. This prayer has to be read, and
it gets repeated. Phrases get repeated 19 times.
And my uncle had joked,
was very adorable.
Loved my Uncle John, love you, John. Had said, this is very boring, but it's gonna happen anyway. Yeah. And then what was neat was that because I had chosen to do graveside first,
which was great.
And then the ceremony afterwards,
perfect example.
I was led to do.
Yeah.
And then
you made that decision, and it's not a typical decision, and it worked out perfect. So
it did.
Love it.
And then on our way to set up for the I don't know, the meeting, or I don't know what to call it.
So it'd be like we did the funeral in the chapel after we did the burial at the gravesite. So we had the gravesite with some prayers, with the prayer, and then we all went into the chapel to have like the more maybe normal type funeral piece.
Yeah. And because Baha'is don't have open casket, which is which I really appreciated, actually.
We had a lot of conversations, I think, about open caskets after that, maybe, but
yeah, I think that we'll get back to that in a minute. But she had read the prayer in between.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
there you
when
go.
we went in to speak about it, you did this really cool thing where you said, hey, there's probably good reason that these specific words are repeated. And if you're anything like me, when it was happening, you probably checked out. And I want to just draw us back into that. And you read it again,
Well,
just
I
that,
just said the
or
words.
the
Yeah.
word, just that specific phrase. And you said, that's what our culture is for. Like our personal stories and our personal cultures are for this idea, or something along those lines of, um when we are honoring the departed, how we all do that, and that the story of this person, these stories are what we want to tell and remember for future generations. Like you sort of wrapped it up so poignantly. Like I was so blown away by it, even in the moment, thinking about it now. I mean,
Yeah, so I think you're actually talking about the two. So normally I will say, like, I'm
things,
very big,
probably.
I'm really big about writing everything down because I really am a storyteller and I tell your stories. And so I gather a bunch of different people. And that's why with like Professor Carr, when she passed, I talked to a lot of different people. So this is my like analogy, is that a person is like a diamond and everybody gets to see some facets, and sometimes everyone's looking at like the same facet, but sometimes someone's on the other side seeing this. And so the more facets that I can get from different people, the more I can bring them present into the room and speak to everyone's everyone gets to feel like the person that they know is represented. And I think that's a reason I'm so good at these funerals, is because I spend time getting as many facets as possible to really, I want them to appear in the room.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
so
like
cool
I
the way
call
you
them
just
down.
said
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
That
yeah.
gave me chills.
Yeah, yeah.
Bringing them present into the
Mm-hmm,
room.
mm-hmm. And I need to
And that
do
is
that
that is what
by
you
all these.
do.
Yeah, yeah.
That is what you do. It's really
But I will
it's
say, so
remarkable.
most of what I do is written out because I'm gathering and then like weaving it all together, which is a lot. I will riff a little bit if something catches me. So two riffs that I did.
Wait, riff?
Yeah, so improv, right? Two
Oh,
things that I didn't write down, right? So that I just
okay.
like riffed on what happened. So one was the prayer, and in the prayer, there's like, I don't remember, is it 7 things that they say like 19 times? So I said like, let's go back to that because we all and I love that John was honest, like this is boring. And I was like, he was right, it was boring. I was like, I love that. So thank you for being honest about it. But if there's something like by the time I was over, I was like, well, what did I miss? And what is so worth saying 19 times? So on the way back, I said, can I like borrow that poem? And I picked the whatever 7, and it could be wrong, it might be 8, I don't know what it is, but I picked the words at the end, and it might have been like, trust in God or patience or whatever it is. And I was like, if it's important enough for us to hear 19 times, maybe those are things that we might want to live, you know as people. These are maybe elements we want to incorporate. And then the second though was when your family was sharing stories, and it's really difficult for people, not all people, but it can be really difficult, when you open it up for like story time, when people are going to share, you're like, yeah, would anyone like to say anything? And then sometimes you'll get crickets, no one will speak. And we weren't sure, honestly, who was going to come up and talk, but someone came up and shared a story about an Atari and, just some other stories. And I was like, that's the magic of sharing, because now the grandchildren get to hear this facet of their grandfather that they wouldn't have known if you hadn't been vulnerable enough to like come up here and say something that you remember, that is, a blip in a life, but how fun for them to have that, like what a little treasured moment. And so funerals are great for that, but then afterwards, like keep telling those stories and cycling them around. And so I'm always grateful when people share little bits, and especially for the kids, because we want, I guess I did this, and then we have a thing over here. But anyway,
now we have a thumbs up.
now we have a thumbs up. Or that's your dad.
The universe is thumbsing up this idea. Well, it was funny too. My aunt sort of handed out prayers too. She was like, I want you to read this prayer, and I want you to read this prayer. And that sort of also created like okay, my aunt wants me to go say this thing. And And it didn't necessarily transcend into or transpond into, stories every time, but it did create like maybe a little bit of movement.
I'm already up here talking, so I might as well.
Movement in the room. That might be, I'm gonna send people things to say.
Yeah, I mean, that's it's good to have other people up, because then it breaks the ice a little and people see other people and not doing it perfect. So that's the thing, people worry about being perfect up there, and
I really wanted so badly to do well, and I just cried so hard.
Yeah, didn't you say like, I'm gonna cry here at home, and so when I'm at
I'm not gonna cry. I was like, I'm gonna cry now, so I don't cry later.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, sure. No. And then I cried my eyes out. I mean, but I got out the important parts, maybe.
And you did people cry at funerals while they're talking, and it's one of the most amazing things about funerals, is because we don't often put ourselves in a place to listen with open hearts and minds to people who are standing up there being like their messiest, fullest self. And that's great. I love those places. Like, I cultivate those spaces. And so I want people to be like, I'm going to get out there and you're going to see me.
I'm going to cry. I'm going to
cry. And so I got this from jujitsu too, speaking of jujitsu. And I say this all the time. People are always telling one another, like, be strong. Like, that's what we like send in our cards. Like, we're going to pray for your strength or whatever. And I'm all about strength. I am one who personally puts a lot of stock in being strong, but I also like tend to muscle through things. I have not a lot of finesse sometimes, and a thing that I learned in jiu-jitsu, right, is like I could face off against someone way stronger, bigger than me, but if I get them in the moment where they're off balance, I can throw them on the ground, and then do something, right? It's timing. So I always say, if you're strong but off balance, you'll get knocked down. So don't just cultivate strength, also cultivate balance. So yes, like bulk yourself up to be strong to get up there, but also like you can balance that out with some like reality of the situation being difficult and emotional, and we can also cry.
But even just us like having handled so many things, so many hard things together, I could look at you while I was up there, and that gave me strength, just to know that like you were there, and you're gonna back me up no matter what. I also felt like at any point, like if I needed rescuing, like you would have rescued me.
Yes.
And that was so just life-giving, that gave me strength. Right.
Well, I do also tell people to write things down. So if you do just like break up and you just cannot like get words out, someone can step in and read for you. And so that's totally
and I would have wanted that to be for you for sure. But I got through.
You did amazing.
I mean, amazing enough to where, it moved my brother, who ended up coming up to speak because of the stories that I was sharing about my father from my childhood, and things that like you don't expect to remember. You don't expect for those things to have that level of importance when they're gone. And there's so many, oh my gosh, I don't even know how many times I was like, oh, I heard that my whole life, and now here I am, and that's totally true. Like, I forget what they call that, but like you just want one more hug, one more kiss. Cliches.
They're cliches for a reason.
As soon as he passed, I was like, oh, no more hugs, no more kisses. Like,
no more sweetheart.
No more. I love you, sweetheart. Like, I would have given anything for just one more of those. That's a hard one. That'll continue to be a hard one.
That's a good reminder for people listening, not that it's the same, but to record those things, so maybe you have them.
I had recorded some conversations that we were having with doctors just for like legal reasons, and I've been listening and the whole time I was like, shit, I should have recorded him saying I love you, sweetheart. That would be something I'd really like right now. Like a message to your loved ones. That would be something that you could do with people that would be so, God, invaluable. Something you will definitely treasure and hand down to your children. I guess the only other awesome moment that we had that was super unexpected was that the preparing of my father's body. That was absolutely incredible. My dad, as a Baha'i, has had a instructions or a wish through the Baha'i faith that he be washed and a ceremonial ring placed on his finger, and then he be wrapped in cotton or silk. My aunt had gone out and gotten the cotton. I wish that I had gotten that ahead of time. That was something we sort of did last minute.
But it gave her a thing to do, which she had asked for, and so it's actually great. She
needed that task.
Yeah. So
everybody wants tasks, and
everybody wants tasks,
and for and that reminder of being like, yes, give people things to do, and then having all that pre-organized, like all the things that you're going to need. Like the pets needed to be watched while we were at the hospital. They needed to be fed and walked. The kids still need to go to basketball practice. The meals still have to be cooked. I had one friend came over and like just cleaned my kitchen, and I couldn't do basic things. I couldn't do life. I couldn't do basic things.
And also you're just in the hospital so often. Like you just kind of don't, there's not enough time in the day for you to be with your dad and
I couldn't shower. I couldn't eat. I couldn't do, and being able to anticipate that, and then knowing that I had a person that could delegate all those things and speak on my behalf, because again, it's really hard to ask for help. And it's hard to know what you need, so to have that third person that's like, no, you need to go home. Like you need to sleep. You need to take a bath. Like you need to eat. And then like, of course, another cliche, like he's going to pass when you're not there, because they do that. And I being stubborn, I'm like, well, the hell, he's gonna do that on my watch. Like I'm gonna be there.
The guy more stubborn than you. Sorry. He out stubborned you.
I went home to eat and take a shower and take a bath, and he passed. Yeah. And it was, and again, with like everything's meant to happen the way that it's supposed to happen, because my siblings were able to go, and I had already said goodbye at like, right before I left. And you have those little voices, and they're usually right. Like I left and I was like, that's the last goodbye I'm gonna have, and he, in his last words, very barely audible, of I love you, like, oh my gosh, that's gonna stick with me forever. But when I was sitting there at home with literally the food in my hands, and my aunt on the phone saying, your dad just passed, and me looking at this food like, oh, okay. And then I called you immediately. I'm like, what do I do? Like, what am I supposed, should I go back? Do you want to go back? No, I think I should. Okay, then do that. And then like 2 minutes later, the food's completely gone, forgotten. I'm standing in my driveway with my keys going, I don't really want to drive right now. Like I don't actually want to do this. I already said goodbye to him. So another light bulb turns on, call you back. I'm not going to go. Okay. Yeah, that's good too. And then an unexpected
bonus.
So many things happened that were so miraculous.
I mean, honestly, the whole thing.
So and you said, I'm going out of town. Pack your bag, you're coming with me. I said, what? And you're like, there's nothing that you can do for the next 24 hours. Everything, because
we had done,
everything's already done.
He was already scheduled to be picked up. Like your siblings got a chance to be with him. You had already had your time. Like everything was already planned. The funeral home already had all the information. Like everything was set to like run without you.
Without me.
And there was just that window where it's like, yeah, we can just go for a minute.
And instead of like sitting at home, and then you asked me, and you sat quietly on the phone while I decided, and I saw myself sitting in my living room just bawling my eyes out alone, and And I was like, I don't want to be alone tonight. Like, I don't want that for me. Like, okay, yeah, let's go. Just getting out of town, just driving away from the energy and everything that was going on. And then weirdly, going to all those mortuaries the next day.
So let me be clear.
I think you should do that though. It was really cathartic. It was.
I had some work that I had to do, which required going to funeral homes. But
And
normally I wouldn't do
and
that.
really, but they were beautiful places. And then
we might go on a cemetery.
And I was
if I work with you, we might go on a cemetery tour.
If that's something that somebody wanted to do, you should, because even being amongst the dead, knowing that my dad had just died was weirdly appropriate. And I'm reading everyone's headstones and the prayers on their things, and I'm like, it sort of just gave me this bigger, like, I don't know what the right word is, but it gave me a stillness, because those places are quiet. It stilled something in me that death comes for us all, that this is part of life, and that it was okay. It was okay. Everything was going to be fine. And yeah, waves of grief, right? But we're better to grieve the dead than amongst the dead. Like, I look at that day as being quite special for those reasons.
Yeah. I loved that drive, because we were driving for like hours and hours. Like 4 hours probably. Yeah. And there were so many like lovely moments, and it was like we made the joke that no one else thinks is funny, but I thought was really funny. You made a great joke. Maybe we'll the live. What I only we should tell that joke. I know, but no one's gonna laugh. They're not gonna think it's funny. No. But you said a funny joke. It was really funny. And then there's just like moments where, we'd just be like chatting about life or whatever. And then you'd be like, my dad died. And then just like crying and be like, and I was so grateful that you had that, that we could have some lighthearted moments. And then you could also just like, but also this reality, and just like, and then we had like the most amazing lunch. like it was so good. We had the best soup. And I was like giddy with happiness that we were just like in this great place having this great food, and it was like it was like tea and warmth, and it was just like just what the doctor ordered.
Food is really important,
and like, it was good food.
Who knew that it was nutritional? It had all
who knew that food
it had all the
it could be. No, I know
like things that you don't realize you need, like, or will need, or things that will nourish.
Oh, that's right. I brought you eggs at the hospital too. I was like, no donuts. I brought donuts to the funeral, but I brought you that egg sandwich.
And it was and it was like the best food that I'd ever had, it seemed like, in that moment, because the hospital food was so disgusting. And it was just so nice to have real food. Like, in that moment, I was like, oh my God, nutrition, this is amazing. So back to the thing with my dad. I all week, because he passed, and then we're going to prepare him right before the funeral, and in Baha'i rites, like, all of this should happen within like 3 to 5 days, but because of the aunts and uncles and stuff, like, we had it on like day 7, which was still agreeable. And on day 6, I was to prepare him, and I did not have any concept of what that was going to look like. It turns out it was nothing to fear, but for 6 days, I got to fear it. I got to think about, like, I've never seen a dead body, and it's my father, and I don't know what I'm doing, and what if I do it wrong, and then he can't depart, and what does this mean, and will I really, your imagination just goes rampant. Like, I thought I might puke. Like, I thought I might pass out. I thought I might walk in and walk right back out and not be able to do it. But knowing that you had my back, I was like, I have these options. Like, if I need to fall apart, if I need to puke, if I need to pass out or just walk out and not do it. I have you to do it, and that you were going to handle it perfectly and beautifully and wonderfully and exactly how it needed to be handled. And then we get in there, and like this weird like calm came over me that morning, and I got a special candle, and I got his prayer book, and I got the special soap, and I didn't remember washcloths, but you guys had those.
If your homes have washcloths, you're good.
Yeah, and even when I walked in and there was this like beautiful quilt laying over him, even though I knew he would be cold from refrigeration, it was still like so nice to see him being cared for, you know? And that, I don't know why that quilt's so important. Like it literally was so important to not see him like just with like some sterile white sheet or whatever you can imagine, like a plastic body bag or whatever. Like your imagination does all kinds of things. You don't really know what to expect. And even though you had said like, he's going to be in this room here, and you showed me the room, right? And so I had a visual for the room already, and you're like, and you know, he is going to be cold. Like you prepped me, but still, when you do something that you've never done before, that's like so important, you just don't know what to expect.
Well, so, this jarring also like open the door, see your dad, like that moment I really am cautious with people about, of just like, you're going to open the door and he's going to be right there. You know what I mean? So just like,
there's no way to, there's almost no way to really prepare for it. But maybe this little bit of conversation will prepare them better, because when I went in and you handled me, so you're just like a handler. You just handled me. They're like, do you want a minute? And I'm like, yes. Yeah, I do. And I was very calm and resolute in that moment. And you left and you said, I'm going to be right out here. Just call me. I'll come back as soon as you need me. And I lit the candle and I sat down next to him and I put my hand on him and I just started reciting his prayers to him, his favorite prayers, and the prayer for the departed. And I had this alone time to just settle into my task and what I was about to do, and just to say goodbye. And I did all the things that I needed to do. And then I called you and you came in. And then we slowly just started to use this soap and the washcloths and washing him. And as I started touching him, I started to panic a little bit. And I was like, oh, do you think it has to be every inch? Like I was like a kid again. I'm like, am I going to do this right? You know? But as we got like, you know, maybe a little bit into it, just a few minutes, all of a sudden my body sort of relaxed and I got acquainted with what we were doing and how it was going. And it was like, oh, okay, this isn't like washing the dishes. This is my dad. His lifeless body has so much more meaning than I thought it would. All of a sudden I was given this just reverence for life, and I appreciated his hair. As I watched, he had long hair. He had this long hair, and he looked like Dumbledore a little bit. He even had a little bit of strawberry blonde left in it. He did, yeah. And then I'm washing his arm, and I, you know, see a beauty mark that I'd seen my whole life. And then I'm holding his hand, you know, washing his hand, and remembering the thousands of times that, you know, we held hands. And that hand seemed like the most special hand that had ever been created. And the fact that it didn't have any life in it anymore gave it so much more meaning. It was like this hand was animated and it loved me and it held my hand. And now I'm honoring it and I'm washing it and I'm saying goodbye to it. And it was like his last gift to me, that reverence for life that I wouldn't have gotten had I not been tasked with this particular thing for him to do with him. And then some lightheartedness as we tried to figure out how to wrap the cotton just right because his face
because we had
needed
to do
show.
each individual thing. We had to do one arm, one leg, and then have a hood. And so the whole thing.
And like, okay, we just kind of figured it out together like a team. We just, okay. And then you were like, you get to see my skills here. We bunched it up just right and like moving him around.
Yeah.
All things that I thought would be really scary, but you made them not scary. And you just made me feel safe and taken care of. And it was beautiful and so grateful. And knowing that I did what he needed, you know, I honored him.
And you did such a good, like, I said, what did we say after was it after the funeral? Oh, yeah. So after the funeral, we drove back down and then we were going to have lunch with some people. And I was just like, again, like, I get it, it's weird or whatever, but I get like on a high and I'm like, I get like giddy when things go well. And I was like, you did it. You did it. Like, because just thinking about the whole thing from start to finish, like, from making the prearrangements to like being with him to, you know, our trip out of town to just like at every moment, like things happened for him and for the, you know, collective. And it you know, went off without a hitch. And sometimes it doesn't go off without a hitch. And I'm real big, just like weddings. Like I always tell people with weddings, like you got to chill. Like something's going to go wrong. Like something's going to go wrong. And that's it. Like, and that's fine. Like we just got to roll with it. Like we create enough tension. We have enough tension around these big life events that, you know, we just have to expect something will go wrong. And then when it doesn't, like we're very happy. And if it does, we're like, well, there's the thing. We knew what happened. You know?
Yeah, but like knowing that you had everything under control, you know, like you just don't, there's things that I was capable of doing in a moment, but not capable of doing, you know, later. You know, you don't think that phone calls will be hard or flowers would be a difficult decision, you know, like what kind of, what's my dad's favorite flower? I have no freaking clue. Like, why does this matter? You know, and then you're like weirdly angry and sad that you don't know because he passed and you didn't ask him. And then like, where are the flowers? Where, you know, does everybody know where they're going? I mean, there's so many moving, you said moving parts. Like when that was the perfect analogy over the birth certificate.
Death certificate,
yeah. Death certificate.
People say that all the time.
Yeah. But then, you know, also people are moving, people's emotions are moving. The whole thing is an influx situation that you can't anticipate what flux is going to, you know, knock you sideways or, you know, just knock you off your feet or, you know, and you're like, oh, it's okay. Let's pick you back up. Like,
that's a good analogy, actually. Yeah. Okay, we're on the ground.
And
good. Rest.
Yeah. Do you want to stay there?
Stay down there.
Okay. You want to stay down there? You can stay down there. You can get up too. It's up to you. I'm here. Every choice is no bad choices here. Oh my gosh. And then, you know, even like, oh, I think it was like a week later, you called me and you were like, hey, just wanted to check in with you because your dad died. And I was like, I already forgot. For me. And you were like, I didn't forget.
Yeah.
I know that your dad just died.
Yeah.
And that was really special too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have any more questions.
I think we did. I think we did it all. You know, like so. Yeah. Do you need her to pick you up? Yeah. Do you need someone who will know what you're gonna do before you do it? Yeah. Do you know? Do you need someone who understands like how to navigate all those rough waters, you know, and who can create safe, you know, a safe space and safe sailing so that you can grieve. I think that's the biggest gift you gave me is that I could grieve in the moment. I could grieve afterwards. I grieved before, I grieved during. And the only reason that I could let go and be in a state of grief is because I knew that you, whatever I, whatever needed to be handled, that you would handle it, because you showed me over and over again that you just show up and you do what the person needs. And you act as that third party who's neutral, who isn't family, who doesn't have a stake in the game, who isn't there to gain anything except for embodying total neutrality and fostering everybody's ability to grieve and also to know what the is happening. Like, okay. And like afterwards, my aunts and uncles were like, what was that woman's name? And I was like, Karen. But Joke Tifa, like, Karen, she's my death doula. She's my best.
No, Death Angel.
Death Angel. Oh, Death Angel. Yes, that's what I was saying.
This is my Death Angel.
This is my Death Angel.
I don't know how I feel about that, but I mean, it's funny. So
it's not just funny, it's true, because you just came swooping in on wings of valor. And like they said, that woman, she was so amazing. She was so amazing. Like, I just
who was your cousin? He was like, I just showed up at your house and like I know that you're a friend, you're just there, and then all of a sudden you're like running the thing. Like, who are you?
Yeah, I said this is Karen. She knows everything. Just refer all questions and refer all decision making to Karen. Yeah. And because you're making the decisions, I could be sad. I could grieve. Mm-hmm. And you don't know that how valuable that is. Like, there is no way to place a value on that. And I feel like I'm in such a better place even now, like a month later. Like, we were able to get through most of this without me crying, because I have had my moments of tears, my crying already. And I feel like my dad is he did get the proper send-off that he needed, and that allowed me to close the door. And yes, I was still grappling with some very complicated feelings the days after. And just to have you listen to my guilt, my shame, my questioning of myself. And you never tried to necessarily fix me, or tell me how I should feel. You just listened and allowed those feelings to pour out of me in a really healthy way so that I could process, and knowing that you would understand what I was going through, what I was feeling, and why I was feeling that way, because you'd been there the whole time. Like, and I could respect, if you did have an opinion on it, I could be like, okay, yeah, again, Karen's hitting the mark every time. Like, yeah, she was right about that, and she's probably going to be right about this. And not that like you were needing to be that, but for me, I needed you to be that.
Well, and sometimes I just wanted you to really ask yourself if what you were saying was true, right? So it was more just like is that real?
Yeah. No, you do it in a reflective way.
Yeah.
Where I'm answering the question, yeah. which is important. And yeah, I don't think that I would be as healed and as ready to just close that door and allow myself to live. As we say goodbye to the people that we love, living can sometimes seem a little, as you're moving through that mourning and that grief, when you're left behind. And there immediately is this hole in your life, this gap. And especially with a parent that's part of the Dead Parents Club, where, and I was describing this to my daughter, like, I'd be, you're learning to walk, you're running, and then you look behind, and your parents always right there, and you go, look what I just did, like, oh, I graduated college. Did you see that? I did a thing that you wanted me to do, and like, are you proud of me? And they're there going, yeah, good job, honey, good job, and you're like, oh, I had kids, and like, look at these beautiful babies, and they're just like, good job. And then that day that comes, and you're like, look, I just made you the most beautiful funeral. Isn't it amazing? You look, and in physical reality, they're not there to say good job anymore, and it leaves a huge gap. Losing your parent is quite unique, we'll say, to maybe other types of loss. And
when it's the loss, people our age, mid-40s, this is about to be the season, where we start to have to navigate these things, especially, the mortality of our parents. That's a big thing. And it's, most likely most of us are going to have to, and I'm going to say like there's a lot of doers, and a lot of women in particular are the ones who are making a lot of the decisions around funeral stuff. It's just a fact. Women make a lot of funeral decisions. So we're just getting to that time, you went through it, of we have to be in place to be prepared for our parents to need us in this way.
Yeah. And I don't think, I think that I would like to take a lot of that off the plate of my children, so like, as that time comes closer, would I want you in place to look after them if that was possible? Yes, 100%, like, that inflammatory cost of a plot, like, yeah, they're going up in price. Am I going to go get a plot next to my dad here in the next month? Yes, I am. Am I going to pick out a pine box? Yes, because that I don't, after going through it, like, yeah, it doesn't need to be fancy. I mean, like, he picked like this really simple, moderate one.
Yeah,
that's fine, will I hit a more flamboyant stage where I might pick a marble one? Sure, why not? I'll upgrade when I get rich. Who knows?
Yeah.
For funsies, just because I can, right? And also because it won't cost them anything. I'm not sitting here going like, no, you need to pay for a $5,000 coffin of marble for me. Like, oh, for fun. Oh, sure, I'll have it prepaid. Because of the ease of, and again, the miracle was the timeline where during COVID, we thought he was gone, so we paid for everything, we got everything set up, and then I didn't know that I would be so relieved that all those decisions were made when the time came. But when the time came and it was all done, I could just be present and say goodbye to him.
Well, then you were so worried that you couldn't find them, and I was like, funeral home has it.
Oh yeah, I
panicked
because I couldn't find the paperwork because I'd moved last year. And I'm gonna make those decisions ahead of time. I'm gonna write my daughter's gonna be so pissed. I'm gonna write their scripts. They're gonna have to read exactly what I want them to read. My mother was the best mother in the whole world. She did everything for me.
I mean, you can write that, and then we'll see what they have to add it during the sharing portion.
But it'll still be fun. Yeah. And that's the thing, is that you've been telling me for years that there's a lot of living and death. And I didn't understand it. I think my standard response to you saying that was, okay, Karen, whatever you say. And it was a little bit sarcastic. But now that I've been through it, I 100% agree. That, like, I feel like I know my father better now that he's gone than I did when he was alive. That's a really tough pill to swallow. But when you look at the entirety of a life, it's probably expected. And wanting to honor it and to see it, to be, I mean, I know that not all people can or want to do this, but I wanted to be as authentically honest about his life and not just sugarcoat it and pretend that, it was a tough life for him and for me as his child and his other children, but in a way that wasn't not nice, but it was loving
We're all people.
and kind. Yeah, we're all people. We all
Mhm.
have struggles. Like our lives are not easy to encapsulate in a I think my thing was like 8 pages long.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, give your children the gift of allowing them to grieve you. Like, make those decisions ahead of time. Do not we use the word burden a lot, but maybe we don't really understand what burden it is that we're causing, and what the burden that you're causing by not making those decisions and paying those bills ahead of time is that you're actually robbing them of their ability to love you and say goodbye to you. And that's not an easy thing to know, because you're not going to be there. You're not going to be there when this is all happening. So preemptively preparing things for them and thinking about them and loving them before you pass is a, I don't know, a great gift.
I think, again, like us, like sandwich generation people, where we have now children who are still in a home, and then we have parents who are dying, like trying to balance both of those things often feels impossible. But you're right, it is about doing what you can to honor your parents and fulfill their wishes. And then also, the more that we have these conversations and the more that we have good experiences, the more likely we are to have better conversations and set our children up better for that eventual experience. And so that is a huge part of the work that I do, is trying to educate people before they need it, so they can have these discussions and feel safe to have them with their parents. I'll have a lot of parents, it goes both ways. Sometimes the kids are like, la la la, you're not gonna die, parents. And sometimes parents don't want to talk about their own mortality, and so the kids are like, I really gotta know. And the parents are like, well, I'm not gonna die. And I really want, I respect not wanting to talk about it and it being taboo and it being a scary thing to talk about. But the fact is, people are going to have to take care of us, and so when we're really passionate about giving to our family or making things better for our family or easier, which is a reason why, honestly, a lot of people say don't have a funeral, because they want to make it easier, but then they don't talk about everything else that goes along with it. And by the way, I do feel like everybody should have a funeral, but I think that those need to look the way they look. So I think people, when I say that, people are like, you're saying it has to look like the funeral that you have in your mind, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying something where people have an opportunity to be present together in honor of you, whatever that looks like. It could be 5 people at a park, it could be 1,000 people in a stadium. Like, that's not what matters.
Well, there's miracles that happen around the ending of a life that should, I honestly, what's interesting about this is the conversations that came up afterwards are also like how we culturally do not honor life the way that we should, because of all those things that you just said, right? Whereas when I was preparing my father, like, that gave me that was next to birthing my children, that changed me more than I could have ever anticipated.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me appreciate life in such a deeper way. That carpe diem feeling that, like, yeah, this does go by, and that lives should be honored. All the things that people do throughout their life, it makes you live so much more authentically, and to be here right now is such a gift. It's incredible. And then the miracles that happen around when a life stops, when it ends, the things that happen to the people who are in your vicinity, in your life, that are connected to you, all those ties, all those cords, all those things that fall away and are broken, you want that to happen in a way that, like, I feel like just miracles happened over the course of weeks. And like I said, I'm in a better place right now because I was able to surrender to those miracles, and I was able to trust you to carry me through. And there's no way that that can happen without a little bit of preparation. You just got to be prepared. And like, I'm gonna get silly with my preparations. I'm gonna bring so much life into my death. It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
There might be wigs.
People do send me a lot of memes now.
There might be like a sad booth where we take pictures of us crying.
That's amazing. Yeah. Well, like,
show me how sad you are that I'm dead.
You know, I'm like, if anyone wants to give me more ideas, like, and you know, a lot of the work I do is just from like learning from people over the years of what they want to do. Doing this for like 20 whatever years, you know, I've just watched how people grieve and then learned and then shown up in different ways. And then I hear fun things like that of like, yeah, I don't know that I would think about a photo booth, but
I'm gonna do a crying booth. And maybe there'll be cutouts of me.
No, that's what I was thinking.
There's gonna be cutouts of me. You can kiss me, hug me. Even one last hug.
We're gonna write all of this down, and we're gonna have it in the Zorin funeral folder.
It's gonna be fat.
And it's gonna be amazing.
It's gonna be amazing. Wow. I'm super excited. Maybe that's what we'll do next time we come. We'll share my my funeral folder as we get it all ready.
You know what? It's not a bad idea.
No, it's not. Because it's just a matter of like understanding, you know, all the little things, all the decisions that need to be made, and then just doing them and not waiting. Just do them.
One at a time.
One at a time.
Give yourself grace. But,
number one.
Boop. Yeah, number one. Right. And
get a best friend, Death Doula.
Yeah, there you go. We love it. Thank you, Zorin.
You're welcome.
I love you.
I love you more.